Okay, thanks so much for joining us on the bright side. We are talking protein, we're talking nitrogen and nitrogen's relevance to protein. I don't want to get sidetracked on the chemistry too much, except to say that nitrogen plus carbohydrate turns carbos into a protein, and that makes protein super, super explosive, super, super powerful, and it makes protein able to do a lot of work, and it makes protein expensive. In fact, protein is the most expensive of all nutrients because of this nitrogen carbohydrate chemistry. The nitrogen, just think about having to stick a magnet that doesn't want to get stuck onto onto a piece of onto another magnet. If you ever put two negative poles together, you know that they don't want to stick to each other. The negative poles repel. Well, in much the same fashion, sticking nitrogen onto a carbohydrate creates a kind of resistance, and in order for that thing to happen, a lot of chemistry has to take place. In the natural world, the sticking together of nitrogen and carbohydrate takes place in plants. Actually, it takes place in bacteria. Well, first, bacteria have to activate the nitrogen, and then plants will take that nitrogen and stick it onto carbohydrates. Bacteria so-called fix the nitrogen. They call them nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and the bacteria prepares the nitrogen so that plants can make their proteins. All of this is to say that nitrogen is important stuff. It's especially important for plants, and this is why agricultural and organic chemists have searched in the past, searched long and hard for an effective way to make nitrogen available in large quantities. This is what nitrogen fertilizers are. For hundreds of years they did this. In fact, the Spanish, when they came to South America, were very fascinated by the Indians' use of bat poop, called guano or bat poop, if you will, because of its high nitrogen content, was prized for its ability to make plants grow. Well, the Spanish, they were really blown away by the ability of guano to make plants grow, and they started to do their research, and this was the golden age of chemistry, the beginnings of the golden age of chemistry in the 18th century. And they were trying to figure out how to make synthetic or artificial guano. In fact, the first chemicals that were made by organic chemists in factories back in the 1800s were nitrogen chemicals, because this was the fixation of chemists. This was the fixation of scientists, to try to figure out how they could synthesize nitrogen. The world was growing really fast, and the Industrial Revolution was kicking in, and they needed more food. As Earth, all the different continents were being discovered, they discovered more people, and the planet was growing. So food became a big issue, and agriculture became a big issue. They knew that nitrogen was involved in growing plants, so the focus of organic chemists and industrial chemists was to try to figure out how to make nitrogen usable in an industrial fashion so that they could put it on the ground so they could make plants grow. Now, this search finally culminated in the early 1900s when a guy named Fritz Haber, Haber, developed a process that is still used today called the Haber process for creating activated nitrogen, the same stuff that bacteria were making in the soils. The Haber process was able to accomplish in a factory setting, thus opening up the world of synthetic nitrogen fertilizers. Fritz Haber's story is documented in a very cool book called The Alchemy of Air, which tells the story of the chemical quest from the days of guano in South America to the days of industrially produced ammonia, is actually what the form of nitrogen is. Industrially produced ammonia via the Haber process. Dr. Haber ultimately won the Nobel Prize for figuring out how to tame nitrogen and make it industrially viable. So protein, in my opinion, is perhaps the most fascinating, multifunctional, and probably the most important of all nutrients that you can put in your body, not just to anti-age, but to stay alive. The diseases that are caused by deficiencies in protein is like a who's who of degenerative disease, because protein is the prime building substance. Unlike the vitamins and minerals that we've been talking about for the last few months, protein is a macronutrient. Everything else in the body is window dressing compared to protein. The heart, the skin, the brain, the blood, the muscle, the bone, the connective tissue, it is all for the most part made of protein. We are made of protein. Everything else is like pixie dust. We are made of protein. Protein is what we are. And, of course, everybody's heard of protein, but how many of us can say we know what protein really is? What the heck is protein? This word that we bandy about so glibly in our culture, protein this and protein that, high protein diet, low protein diet, don't take too much protein. What the heck is protein? Well, in order to understand the true significance in protein, we have to understand cells, and we have to understand something that scientists call systems. This is, by the way, called systems theory, and it's a big-time school of study in physics. Systems theory is the idea that parts make up bigger parts, make up bigger parts, make up bigger parts. Systems theory is a physics concept, but it has a lot of relationship to the body. A system is something that is complete and whole and cannot be broken up without impairing their performance. A system is something that's complete and whole, something you can't take pieces out of, and systems are made up of other systems. In turn, they make other systems. So quite obviously, the body is a big system made up of a bunch of little systems. The body is the fact that the body is a system, and by definition, a system is a whole that you cannot take parts out of without changing the function of that system. That shows you why it's the height of arrogance, not to mention stupidity, to think it's a smart idea to take any parts out of the body. The body is a system, and by definition, you cannot take parts out of a system without messing things up. Because the body is a system, by definition, to remove something from it, whether it's the breast or the gallbladder or the reproductive organs or the thyroid, it's going to mess up the functioning of the system. Removing parts out of a system violates the system. A system must be whole, as in holy, to be healthy. Whole, holy, healthy. They all come from the same root words. You cannot have a defect in one part of a system. You cannot have a missing part in one part of the system without affecting the whole system. And this all has to do with protein. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from a break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. All right, we're talking about protein, and I've always found it interesting how we use that word so glibly, but nobody really seems to understand what protein is. And if you don't understand what protein is, aside from the fact that it's in foods, it's very difficult to understand how to work with the stuff. So in order to understand protein, we got to first talk about systems. Got to take a little digression and talk about the body as a system. A system is, by definition, a whole unit of which you cannot remove any parts without affecting the functioning of that whole unit, without changing the functioning of that whole unit. That's why I'm so adamant about not having organs removed. Unless you have some kind of cancerous growth going on, you should never, ever, ever have an organ removed out of the body, because the body is a system. And by definition, you can't take parts out of the system without messing up the system. That's a definition, folks. Tell that to your next doctor who says you don't need your gallbladder or your appendix or your thyroid or your breasts or whatever organ they feel like yanking out. Now, the body is a system made up of other systems. This is so cool. It's systems making up other systems, making up other systems, making up other systems. And guess what, friends? The most fundamental system in the body. This is the key to health. This is the key to wellness. This is the key to regenerating anything. And this is the key to understanding protein and to understanding the importance of protein. Listen up. The most fundamental system in the body, the most basic system in the entire human body, is the cell. This is why I always say on the bright side, all disease is cell disease. In order to understand how to exploit, how to leverage, how to take advantage of the healing powers, the divinely mandated healing powers of the human body, we have to understand the cell. Breakdown in the cell precedes all breakdowns in the entire human body. Now, I don't want to get all Dr. Science on you here, guys, but we have to understand the cell. And what's more, the cell is so amazing. Folks, this is a little entity, a conscious entity that changes with every thought we think. This is a little entity of which we have 100 trillion of in ourselves. This is in our bodies. This is incomprehensible. And what's more, my friends, this is invisible. A cell is invisible. It's like everything a cell does, and it does zillions and zillions and zillions of different things every second. It is all happening on an invisible level. So aside from being incredible science, it's spiritual beyond belief. It is as divine as it gets. It's the invisible world turning into the visible world. This is the definition of magic or a miracle. The only way disease and degeneration can occur is if there is a breakdown in a cell. And don't worry, because protein is intimately involved here, and I'll be telling you about this. But right now, I want you to understand there's no degenerative disorder. I don't care if we're talking acne. I don't care if we're talking heart disease. I don't care if we're talking autoimmunity. Don't care if we're talking cancer. There is no disease at the macro level that does not start at the most microscopic fundamental level in the body, which is a cell. Disease comes from the bottom up, but our medical model treats us from the top down. This is the ultimate flaw in medicine. This is why medicine doesn't work. Yes, medicine doesn't work. Your doctor cannot help you. Your drugs cannot help you. And save for an emergency where they got to remove a tumor or fix a broken limb because you got hit by a car, save for these heroic measures, medicine doesn't work. And I've been involved in medicine since 1983. And I'm telling you this, folks, as from experience as well as common sense, it can't work because your doctor works from the top down, but breakdown occurs from the bottom up. And why haven't you heard this from your doctor? Because medicine is helpless. Your doctor's not going to tell you he's helpless. He's helpless at the level of a cell. But as we've said so many times on this program, that's no problem because we don't need medicine to fix ourselves. We don't need pharmacists. We don't need doctors. We don't need insurance companies. We certainly don't need the government and Obamacare. We can do it ourselves, but we have to understand the basic nature of the basic building block of the system, which is the cell. And we have to understand the nature of a healthy cell versus a disease cell. We have to zoom down with our Superman X-ray vision into the invisible world of a cell. And don't worry, because protein is intimately involved here. So, what exactly is a cell? What is a cell and what does it do? Okay? A cell is like an animal. That's right, it's like a little animal. It's a creature. It's a critter. Except it's a creature or a critter that has figured out how to cooperate with its neighbors so effectively that a community of cells can create this integrated, coherent whole, a system. A community of cells can create a system that is somehow able to function as an entire macro system that is so independent of its little components, so independent of its cells, it doesn't even know that they exist. When was the last time any of us thought about ourselves? We are the macro system that is composed of these little microscopic entities. And when was the last time the macro system called me or called us thought about ourselves? When was the last time you thought about your liver cell? Yet your liver cell is functioning at a rate, at a speed of chemistry and at a complexity of chemistry that is beyond belief. Do you know a typical liver cell is capable of doing 1,000 different types of chemical reactions a second? 1,000, maybe more, maybe tens of thousands of different chemical processes and chemicals are created by a liver cell every second. Can you imagine if a factory could do that? It would take a factory the size of a city to do that. And this is all being done at the microscopic level of a cell, and we don't even think about it. A cell can create the macroscopic body in the same way stars as individuals create a galaxy. A cell can create a body in the same way stars create a galaxy, in the same way that anything that is small creates something that is big, that is both that exists both at the microscopic level and the macroscopic level. Cells, stars, things that create systems exist on two levels. They exist on the microscopic level and they exist on the macroscopic level. A cell can make up a body that is both dependent and independent on its constituent parts, the cells. Wouldn't it be nice if human beings could learn from that? Wouldn't it be nice if us human beings could create a macro system that was so efficient and so generous and so unselfish that it didn't even know that the microscopic elements existed, that was so wholly integrated that it was like the human body? What if we had a country where all the people were so integrated and cooperated so? All right, we're back on the bright side. Sorry we cut off there at the end. I wanted to get to a letter or two, and I don't think I'm going to get to do that. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll touch on one or two, but the phone lines are full. If you do have a question for us, you might want to wait for somebody to drop off. We'll get your phone call just a split second. Before we went to break, I was talking about this relationship between the cell and the entire body. And this is a very important, it's not just the airy-fairy kind of theory here. This is very important to understand protein, because most people don't know what protein is or what it does or why it's so important. But without understanding the nature of a cell and a cell's relationship to the entire body, we can't understand how important protein is. Cells build up the body the way stars make up a galaxy, the way leagues, or the way teams make up a league, the way families make up a town, or whatever metaphor you want to use that describes the relationship between a part and a whole. A cell makes up a body, but it does it so efficiently, so generously, so unselfishly that we, as the macroorganism, never think about these little animals that compose us. Wouldn't it be nice if individual human beings learned to cooperate with each other just as effectively as a cell? We can learn from a cell. Wouldn't it be nice if individual human beings learned to cooperate so well that the families and the towns and the cities and the countries and the human race entirely could operate so effectively and efficiently that the entire system that's made up of us as individuals would be as harmonious as the human body, that would operate as harmoniously as the human body does. The human body is an incredibly integrated system that's made up of a bunch of individual components. And by the way, cancer cells are cells that don't listen to their neighbors. Cancer cells are cells that don't cooperate with their neighbors. That's a definition of cancer cells. That's what makes cancer cells so dangerous. They're like people that are selfish and greedy and don't think of anybody but themselves. And nobody dies of cancer. People die of malnutrition because the cancer cells steal all the nutrients. There's a metaphor hiding in there somewhere. Cancer cells are cells that don't listen to their neighbors. They're rogue, they're out of control, they're greedy, selfish cells that never mature, and they simply keep pumping out defective copies of themselves, like some kind of biological Xerox machine from hell. That's what a cancer is. That's what a tumor is. It's a cell that's just dividing and growing and stealing nutrients completely out of control. The net result of this selfish, greedy, rogue cell that we call a cancer cell is ultimately the disruption, ultimately the death of the entire macroorganism that it makes up. I see a metaphor here. Greedy, selfish, rogue entities, human beings, politicians, CEOs come to mind, or cells. All of this can be thought of as a kind of out of control, growing, selfish cell that's not listening to its neighbors. Politicians are like cellular carcinogenic analogs. Greedy, selfish humans have created a cancerous culture that shows up as a dysfunctional, tumor-like, parasitic government and corporation. And if left unchecked, you end up in cancer-like fashion to the destruction and death of the entire human race, possibly, which these corporations and individual rogue, selfish, greedy human beings compose. All right, so cells are little animals. In order to understand the importance of protein, we've got to understand what these little animals are and how they relate to the entire system. All disease is cell disease. So if we're going to understand how to heal the body, in addition to understanding the importance of protein, we've got to understand what a cell is. And we'll continue this discussion on our next Bright Side episode. We'll also take a couple of your letters tomorrow. I hope we'll get to that. I'm going to try to get to that, because I got a couple good ones that I think are instructive of how the Bright Side philosophy works and how you can use it to heal yourself. All right, 855-660-4261 is our number. Let us go to Shirley in California. What is up, Shirley? Welcome to the Bright Side.
Hi, good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
I have both medial and lateral meniscal tears in the knees. And
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time, Shirley. I'm having a hard time hearing you. You have, what did you say you had?
Medial and lateral meniscal tears in both in our knees.
Okay, and you have a meniscal tear, is that correct? I'm still not hearing you well, ma'am.
Okay, I'll talk up. And also there's subclonial marrow edema at the medial
Dude, you're way overthinking this, girl. Your knee's a mess. That's all you need to know. Okay? You're not healing. Your knee's a mess. You said you had a tear in your meniscus, correct? And you have edema, which is inflammation and swelling. The details of it don't matter. What's happening is your knee's not healing as it should, correct?
I want to know if those would be in the red zone where there's a blood supply for healing. I'm surgery is not an option. I have to heal myself.
Yeah, okay, we can heal you, but you don't need all that detail. All we need to know is that you're not healing and you want to heal. So here's what you need to do. Number one, you need to keep any kind of microinflammation out of the system. That's the first step always in the healing process, eliminating microinflammation. You guys out there listening who have any kind of health issue, this is why I talk about the digestive system so much, is because this is the main way microinflammation enters into the body. So the first thing you want to do is you want to keep that microinflammation away, and that means correcting any kind of digestive issues. And if you don't know you have them, look for them, because it's in your interest to find them. Use probiotics, glutamine powder, zinc. All of these are very helpful for the digestive tract. Coating the digestive tract with sugars, long-chain sugars, not sucrose, not candy, but long-chain sugars that you'll find in the Z-radical, that you can get in aloe, that you can get in noni, that you can get in bone soup. This all has a coating effect, and it's also, the bone soup, by the way, is also a good source of liquid protein, and liquid protein, or all protein, is very important for the healing process. So step number one, you're going to eliminate microinflammation using all of our digestive strategies and eliminating problem foods. Step number two, you're going to want to coat the digestive tract. So if there's any kind of holes in there, which is very common as we get older, especially if we have a healing issue, you're going to want to coat the digestive tract to keep anything from getting into the blood. And then number three, you're going to want to use liquid protein. That was the bone soup will give you the coating effect plus the liquid protein. You can also use whey protein to get liquid protein. Crack an egg in there as well. I like liquid protein. Obviously, it's much easier to absorb, but whatever kind of protein, that's going to be important for you. Okay, that's step number two. Step number three, are you with me, ma'am? Because I'm giving you a ton of info here, Shirley.
I'm writing it down. I also take a lot of turmeric every day. And also
that's helpful. That's not a miracle, but that's still helpful. It's not going to hurt you. I love turmeric. Herbs are not, you guys, the body's not built of herbs. There's no turmeric in your knees, Shirley. There's no turmeric in your brain or in your skin or your heart or anywhere else. That doesn't mean turmeric's not important. It just means it's not constitutive. Doesn't make up the body. The third thing you want to do is use anti-inflammatory nutrients, anti-inflammatory micronutrients. I love digestive enzymes because not only will they help you absorb your food, but they also have anti-inflammatory properties. In order to take advantage of the anti-inflammatory properties of the enzymes, you need to take them on an empty stomach, however, okay? Vitamin E is also wonderfully anti-inflammatory. I'd be using 400 international units of vitamin E a day. Vitamin C is a must-have for building connective tissue and as an anti-inflammatory. You'll get that in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You should probably be sipping on that one all day long. You might want to throw in an extra 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C powder in water. And take your vitamin C with the glucogel caps. The glucogel caps are made with something called glucosamine, which most of you guys have heard of. Glucosamine is very important for building connective tissue, and it works hand in hand with vitamin C. If you guys on the glucogel caps, always take them with vitamin C. Okay, you with, ma'am? Do I have sure? Shirley, got a couple more things I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to let you go because there's tons of stuff. And then there's our break as well. Essential fatty acids, very important for all building. Use the Ultimate EFAs. I'd be taking 9 of them a day. 50 milligrams of zinc picolinate a day would be a good idea. And then if I were you, I'd be using the Osteomag as well. If you want to hang on, Shirley, I'll finish up when we come back from our break. Wes, Arthur, Lena, we'll try to get to you guys as well. I'm Pharmacist Ben. All right, we are back on the bright side. Shirley in California with a torn meniscus and edema, swelling. It sounds like things aren't healing as well as they should, Shirley. So you want to really start focusing on the healing process. As we were saying before the break, that means number one, focusing on digestion, eliminating problem foods, and then coating the digestive tract with noni juice, aloe, the Z-radical product from Longevity. Using digestive enzymes can help you digest protein, which is very important for the building process, and it can also provide you with anti-inflammatory benefits. Glucosamine is very important. Always take your glucosamine with vitamin C. Vitamin E is also important as an anti-inflammatory. And then zinc is an important mineral for the healing process, as is magnesium. I'd be using the Osteomag from Longevity. And then essential fatty acids are always important for growing connective tissue. They act to turn on the genetics of cells to help make protein. We'll be talking more about that in the next couple of days. Is there anything else you want to ask me, Shirley? Because I got a couple more things I want to say, and then we'll let you go.
Oh, I take date oil and krill oil as well for EPS. But in your experience, is this kind of a damage? Does it heal itself?
It depends on how severe. Yeah, theoretically it can heal itself, but you got to make sure you're doing everything correctly. The problem is, if you're walking and you're using your legs, using your knee, the healing process is going to be much slower. So sometimes theoretically it should be able to heal, but sometimes a surgical repair may be the best bet as long as you're taking care of yourself nutritionally in order to improve the healing prognosis and reduce post-surgical issues. Sometimes surgery is your best bet depending on how severe the meniscus tear is.
The lateral.
Well, no, the depth, the severity, not all the different parts that are torn, but the severity of the tears themselves. It sounds like it's pretty severe, though. Just how long have you had it?
There's a horizontal longitudinal tear, so I don't know if that's.
No, it doesn't make a difference. It should be healing. If it's not healing, that's where you're really going to be dealing with some issues. Now, how long have you had it? How long has it not been healing?
Well, it kind of came on very slowly, and so around July I noticed the stiffness.
It doesn't sound like a chronic degenerative type of thing. It sounds like a trauma. And this is really, as I said so many times in the program, I'm not a fan of modern medicine, but when it comes to trauma, that's really where medicine excels. If that's what you're dealing with is some kind of acute trauma, then you may need some surgical intervention. You want to make sure that that's the condition. That's what it does sound like it is, though. Everything I told you about rebuilding the meniscus will be helpful if indeed you do surgery. It will be helpful post-surgery to help accelerate the healing process. So keep all that in mind if you do decide to go the surgical route. Shirley, I got to let you go. If you want to communicate with me further, send me a note to brightsideletters@gmail.com and put your phone number in there. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Okay, yeah. If you have some kind of acute trauma, there are times when surgical intervention is the way to go. I've had knee surgery myself. I tore it up pretty good, and there was no way nutrition was going to help, and there was no way nutrition was going to take care of the pain either. But for chronic degenerative disease, this is what we're talking about mostly on this program, not acute issues, not traumatic issues, but for chronic degenerative disease, the kind of diseases where the body breaks down and does not heal. That is what we're talking about as not being a doctor issue. That's where nutrition comes in. That's where lifestyle issues come in. That's where food choices come in. Chronic degenerative disease as distinguished from acute trauma. All right, Lena in Texas, welcome to the Bright Side. What's going on?
Hi, Dan.
Hey, Lena.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling us. What can we do? What can we do for you? Thank you.
You're like a movie star to me. I listen to you faithfully every day.
I'm not a movie star. Thank you for saying that.
I have two questions. My first question is, I hear you talking about pregnenolone.
Pregnenolone. Love the stuff.
Yes. Is that something that I have to get a prescription for?
No.
Or can I go online and get it?
No. Online, health food store, Whole Foods. It's awesome stuff for menopause, for anxiety, for any adrenal issues. Pregnenolone. Pregnenolone.
Okay. How many milligrams of that should I take?
There's no real way to know, but 100 milligrams a day is probably a good place to be.
100 milligrams?
Experiment a little bit. Try 50, try 100.
Is there any particular brand? Name brand?
I like Now brand for generic stuff. N-O-W. Now brand, but no, there's no particular brand. Don't worry about it. They all come from pretty much the same places. You can also use progesterone cream, too. Progesterone or progesterone cream.
You have to get a prescription for that.
The good stuff,
right?
for that, you need a prescription. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think I'm going to try the pregnenolone. I cannot say that word.
No, here you go. 3 parts. It's only got 3 or 4 parts. Like pregnant, preg,
right.
Nen, rhymes with Ben, nen, pregnen, alone, like you're all alone.
Okay.
Pregnenolone.
Oh, okay.
Say it, Lena. Say it. Why don't you say it?
You would put me on the spot.
Come on, say it. Pregnant, like preg, nen, like Ben, alone. Pregnen, alone.
Pregnant, alone.
Not pregnant alone. That's a whole different issue. Pregnen alone.
Pregnant alone.
Good deal. All right. What else can we help you with?
My second question is, gums. I'm finding that I'm having a problem with my gums bleeding now.
That's a breakdown issue. That's a degenerative issue, just like with Shirley in California. Same idea. Your gum disease or gums breaking down. That's the body just falling apart. And what you want to do is you want to treat your body as if it's not healing, not regenerating. Do all the things we talk about all the time on this program. Number 1, focus on the digestive system, eliminating anything that's getting into the system, causing microinflammation. It's in your interest to find digestive problems. Patch up the gut with probiotics. And I know I'm going fast here because I want to get to a couple of other callers here, but it's the same thing that we always talk about. Make sure you're getting enough protein. Use the protein with digestive enzymes. Vitamin C is especially important for the gums because the gums are largely composed of collagen. Can't make collagen without vitamin C. Use the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Sip on it all day long. Zinc, very important for building. Pretty much everything I just told Shirley. And I hate to sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's all the same stuff, you guys. Whether it's in your gums or whether it's in your knee or whether it's in your bum.
I'm doing all that. It's not.
No, you're missing something though, because you wouldn't be having that issue. You wouldn't be having that issue.
I mean, it's not like they bleed every day, but every now and then they'll bleed. I don't know if it's...
What's your protein? What are you doing for protein, Lena?
I'm doing whey protein.
How much?
I'm doing like a scoop in my juice after I work out.
Scoop in your juice.
When I come home, I do protein.
So you're doing a scoop every day, would you say?
Yes.
Well, that would be great if you were a gerbil. Or maybe a guinea pig, or maybe like a cat or something. You need more than a scoop. That's nothing. Lena, you need 3.
Oh, okay.
A scoop. There's a lot more you could do, sweetheart. I wish I could spend all day with you talking. I really do. I love talking to you guys, but I got all these calls and I can't get into it too much. But you want to focus on building is the bottom line, all right? Regeneration, protein, zinc, essential fatty acids, vitamin C. All of these are your building nutrients, your anabolism nutrients, all the things we talk about here on the program. Anabolism,
I need
building.
to increase my dosages.
Heck yes,
I'm doing
you do.
all that, but I think I'm not getting enough. Is what
Probably.
It is.
You have any bowel movement issues, gas, cramping, anything like that? Tell all of America about your bowel movement issues.
My bowel movements are great. I have every day, so I mean everything seems like it's fine.
I'm teasing you, ma'am. I'm teasing you. But something's percolating in there. Something's percolating.
Yeah.
Lena, I'll tell you what, because I want to get to our other callers here. If you send me an email, brightsideletters@gmail.com, I'll answer you personally. Put your phone number there, okay?
Will do. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, ma'am. Bye-bye. I wish I could talk to you guys all day. It's just not going to happen because we got all these calls and not a lot of time. Arthur, real quick, what's going on, my man?
One question. If somebody is on dialysis and
Yeah.
their kidneys have shut down, can they rejuvenate their kidneys through nutrition?
Well, they could do a heck of a lot of good. Just depends on how badly the kidneys are broken down. By the time somebody's into dialysis, the deterioration and the degeneration is really pretty severe. So theoretically, the body is a healing system and a renewing system. But from a practical standpoint, by the time somebody's in dialysis, especially from their 50s or 60s or 70s, it's going to take a lot of work. But yes, from a theoretical standpoint, the body's nature is to heal and to regenerate. The only question is going to be, do you have enough time and how bad the body has, the kidneys have degenerated. So theoretically, yes. Practically, whether you get complete regeneration or not, the fact of the matter is you can make them feel better and you can make them healthier by using nutrition. Nutrition is not medicine. It's not like a drug where you take a drug and all of a sudden your symptoms disappear. Nutrition is constitutive. It builds the body. It's what the body is made up of. Thus, it is not optional. And you don't want to look at it like, oh, these nutrients are going to reverse my kidney disease and I'll get off of dialysis. You want to look at it like, my body runs on this stuff. My body builds itself on this stuff, and this stuff is not optional. This is not like prescription drugs where you take a medicine and your blood pressure drops, or you take a medicine and your headache goes away. This is like you take these nutrients and your body uses these nutrients to run its zillions upon zillions of chemical reactions, and it uses these nutrients to build itself up. It's like a car needs gasoline. The body uses nutrients like a car needs gasoline. Got to move on, Arthur. Thank you so much for your call. Appreciate it. Got about 30 seconds here, Wes. You want to? Actually, we don't even have time. All right, that's the music, and I apologize for leaving you guys on hold. Tomorrow we'll take a couple of your letters, and I'll tell you what, tomorrow if you guys call first thing, we'll just do phone calls all day tomorrow. All right, how's that? A whole hour we'll just do phone calls, as long as we have phone calls, and then we'll take some letters. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thank you so much for listening to The Bright Side. We'll talk to y'all later, folks. Bye for now.